Sometimes you just play a game that's nothing like anything you've ever played before. And I just did that with Clustertruck, a platformer where you jump on a series of giant flatbed trucks trying to get to the goal. But does this interesting concept have enough in it to be worth your money, or is this just one of those weird games that isn't worth looking at? Clustertruck is a platformer where you are jumping on a series of flatbed trucks as they are traveling along a set path. All kinds of various different obstacles and hazards get in the way. Trucks drive erratically, crash, explode, and your goal is to stay on the trucks and keep on moving until you're able to hit the goal. Any point you end up falling off the level into the abyss or end up making a collision with the road itself, you end up losing and have to restart the level. Clustertruck is broken up into 8 different worlds with 10 levels each, all with varying different themes and types of hazards that you're going to be dealing with. There are levels such as forest and winter, but also some stuff like sci-fi, futuristic, and steampunk. Each world provides different set pieces and different themes for each of the levels involved, with a lot of the levels containing similar structure depending upon which world you're in, like the laser world featuring all levels that have various different styles of laser traps you're going to have to deal with. The medieval world, where you'll have various different medieval devices, flamethrowers, giant compressors, and giant mallets smashing the various trucks, and of course also trying to take you out. And of course sci-fi, where you'll have giant boosters to blast you way up in the air, and just the entire aesthetic of the world has that little bit of a futuristic look to it. The game does a good job of adding in these various different themes and types of levels. As soon as you think you've mastered one type of gimmick in the game, you're making it to the next world where a new gimmick is introduced. Some levels, it's best to go really fast and try to get through as quick as possible, and other ones, it's better to take your time and slowly make precision jumps from truck to truck in order to be able to stay safely on and complete the goal. After completing a level, you'll get a rack up of your score and earn points, and then you can use the points to spend on abilities. You can have 2 abilities equipped at one time, but there's only one ability able to be equipped for each category, as there's 2 separate categories. Mixing and matching these various different abilities can really come in handy and turn the tide of being able to actually complete levels, especially the really difficult ones. If you find yourself struggling with one level in particular, maybe changing up the ability you're using will definitely end up helping out. Stuff like grappling hooks, double jumps, boost, levitation, and even the ability to spawn extra trucks are included, and all of these have their benefits and sometimes a few disadvantages to using them depending upon the level you're on. The controls are rather simple, moving with the left joystick, moving the camera with the right one, jumping with X, and you can run holding down the R2 button. There's also the 2 abilities for L1 and L2, but since you don't have those at first, and they aren't a necessity in order to complete any of the levels, you may not even have to worry about those things. I will say I don't really like the fluidity of your movement when you're in the air. Basically, whatever direction you're looking at is where you can actually gain momentum. You have to move the camera around with your character, which at times can be a little bit difficult to do so. Moving forward with the left stick, trying to hit X to jump, and then also moving from that jump to the right joystick in order to move the camera can sometimes be a little bit difficult to do so. Thankfully, you can change the sensitivity in the options to make looking a little bit quicker or slower depending upon your preference, but just that mix of having to go from the X to then moving the stick in order to make sure I'm able to keep progressing wasn't necessarily something that I was really a huge fan of. From the technical side of things, I didn't run into any crashing, but there was definitely some glitching here and there. There's some weird hit detection when it comes to your character, especially from that first-person perspective. It's difficult to actually be able to tell just how big your character is. And in levels where you're dealing with like the laser grids, it can be difficult at times to be able to tell exactly what is going on, as well as just the whole kind of wacky physics that the game entails. There are plenty of times where you can just be propelled forward or really high up in the air just because of the way the momentum works, which actually makes the game chaotic, and a lot of the enjoyment factor comes from this kind of spontaneity of the physics. While there's definitely skill involved with the game mastering the platforming, you will definitely get the hang of using the different momentum swings to really kind of guide you and be able to do stuff you wouldn't be able to do near the beginning of the game, and sometimes learn little secrets and shortcuts to help you beat levels a little bit easier. But at the same time, the game is very heavily luck based. You will end up restarting a level and the trucks move in completely different pattern than they did the last time you ended up doing that same level. Trucks, while they're all set to go forward or go wherever, they may end up crashing into one another, blow up, different things end up hitting them. When the traps end up beginning in levels is different every time you end up restarting, so a laser grid that hit you before may not end up hitting you again, and the same goes for the other various traps. So there's definitely a lot of luck based in the game, and while that didn't really come in play until I got much later in the game, the last few levels became a headache because of this luck-based gameplay. While the game provides the other abilities for you to unlock, there really isn't anything else for you to gather points and unlock. This is a game that definitely appeals to those who may be interested in potentially speedrunning or those who really like going after high scores in games. There is a lot of fun to be had with the game, but is there necessarily enough to keep you playing for longer than maybe an hour or two? It's really going to depend how much you end up liking the wacky physics that is Clustertruck. The game is available on the PlayStation 4 though for $14.99, does not feature a full trophy list, so there is no platinum for the game, which is definitely a bit disappointing, and I probably would have gone after, as a lot of the game is very fun and enjoyable to play through. With all that said though, in the end, I'm going to be giving Clustertruck a 5 out of 10. I think it's a fun novelty, and you can definitely get some enjoyment out of it, especially if you pull it up at a party and take turns playing it. There's some fun definitely to be had, but honestly, it's probably going to be relatively short-lived, and you're going to move on after just a little bit of playing through the game. But anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.